Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing really well. So again, this video is a little bit late. I wanted to shoot this and put it out last weekend because I wanted you guys to have a couple of recommendations for the Gothic Hearts reading challenge. But like I said before, I've really been struggling with my health. I had this sinus infection that just carried on forever, and I'm finally starting to feel a lot better. It was like weeks that this thing carried on. It was nuts. My sinuses are clearing up, but now we're having a swing in our weather, and it's going to be like -20, -30 coming up here after having the past month or so in the pluses, which is really weird for Canada in January. But we're having a swing the other way, and we're getting a ton of snow, and it's going to be super cold. So finally putting together this recommendation list for you guys. I'm hoping that you'll be able to still fit in some Gothic reads for the rest of February if you haven't done some already. So I'm going to go through the prompts again. You can go back and watch my announcement video, and of course I'm going to have all my co-hosts linked in the description box as well. So you can also go over and see what they're reading for the month and any recommendations that they've made as well. So we're going to get into this, but I just wanted to preface it by saying a lot of the prompts actually say to read specifically a Gothic romance book. And for me, I read a lot of Gothic books, but not specifically like heavy on the romance. So as Regina, who is the creator of this event, has always said, it's super laid back. So I'm not reading specifically books that you would consider romance. I like to read books that are Gothic with romantic elements, sometimes wound in, but some of these aren't going to be, you probably say, well, Lizzie, that's not really a romance book. I know, but this is kind of the way that I do this challenge, and like I said, it's super loosey-goosey, it's very laid back. We want you guys just to, you know, enjoy it and read books within the Gothic sphere. And then for each one of the prompts, I also have a few movie suggestions because one of the activity prompts is to watch Gothic movies. And I love doing, like with any readathon, I like to put in movie choices as well, because sometimes we just don't want to read that much within the same genre and we want to kind of change it up. So after that very long preamble, let's get into the prompts and the suggestions. Okay, so prompt number one, I do have them pulled up on my laptop here. So we have 8 prompts, and all of them are very much Wuthering Heights themed. Obviously with the new movie out, it is very Wuthering Heights adjacent, but of course you don't have to read that book, you don't have to watch that movie. You can fit a lot of things within these prompts. So the first one is Heathcliff's Curse. Read a Gothic romance where love becomes obsession or vengeance. And so for this one, I am just going to put in Wuthering Heights right off the very bat. If you've never read the book, it's very different from the movie adaptations, and it's a lot more filled out. It's actually a lot more tragic, I find. I haven't read it since probably high school. I remember reading it when I was in grade 12. So I'm just going to throw Wuthering Heights in here right on the very first prompt because it is, in my opinion, it's the perfect book to fit into this. And then for movie adaptations, of course, we have the Wuthering Heights, the new one, and you know, it's been done a few times, but for me, I don't know if I'm going to bother with the new one. I don't know if I can do it. I'm just so over reimaginings and stuff like that. But also for me personally, I can't imagine anyone else but Laurence Olivier playing Heathcliff. So I would highly recommend watching the one from the 50s. It's just fantastic, and it definitely hits you in the heartstrings right at the very end. We know that Heathcliff and Cathy, their history, their romance and everything is very problematic, but it is a classic, and if you've never actually read or watched it, this is the perfect opportunity. Prompt number 2, Love Beyond the Grave. Read a Gothic romance where one lover is dead, undead, or haunting the living. So again, of course, Wuthering Heights fits in here perfectly. But for my own choice, I'm going to go with They Own the Night by Amy McCaw, which is a Dracula retelling. And I've had this on my TBR now for the past few months. I finally got my physical copy from Amazon. Like, it took weeks for it to come, which is really weird. But that's going to be my choice. But another choice that's really great and also a classic is Carmilla. If you've never read Carmilla, I highly recommend it. It just has that wonderful Gothic atmosphere and the language that's being used, and it's very sensual. So I would highly recommend picking up Carmilla if you haven't. And then for the movie choice for this, oh sorry, I forgot to give the movie choices for prompt number 1. Prompt number 1, the movie choices of course are Wuthering Heights, but I also have Crimson Peak in there as well. I thought that one would fit in really, really well. I just did recently watch Crimson Peak. I actually bought the 4K edition for myself and watched all the extras, and it's fantastic. So Crimson Peak would definitely fit in for prompt number 1. And then prompt number 2, you can definitely go with, like, you know, Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is a classic. But if you want to put a little bit of a twist on it, I would actually go with Dracula Dead and Loving It, which is probably my favorite Dracula adaptation. So that would be my recommendation for that one. Queen of the Damned would fit in here as well. I really enjoyed Queen of the Damned. I love it, to tell you the honest truth. Dracula 2000 is another iteration that would work well in here. And then kind of outside of the Gothic sphere a little bit, but more along the lines of if you wanted to watch something for Valentine's Day that had this kind of living undead kind of romance going on, Lisa Frankenstein was one movie that really blew me out of the water. I wasn't expecting anything great from this movie, and I thought it was really well done. It's super funny, it has a great plot line, it's got dark humor, it's got lots of cheese, and the romance element is actually quite sweet. So I would definitely, I'm gonna throw in Lisa Frankenstein. Like I said, it doesn't really fit totally within the Gothic sphere, but of course it is a reimagining of Frankenstein, which, you know, they just did the Netflix adaptation a little while ago, so you could definitely go a little bit crazy with putting the movie adaptations in here as well. Prompt number 3, Her Dark Reflection, read a Gothic romance featuring a morally gray or dangerous heroine. So for this one, the one that I'm going with is The Last Witch. Is it The Last Witch? Yes, The Last Witch. So I'm gonna go with that one, and it's about this woman who's accused of being a witch by her husband after she has an affair with his footman, and she gets put in prison and meets like a whole bunch of other women that have been accused of witchcraft during the time of the kind of the witch trials. So that's going to be my pick for this particular prompt. A couple of other ones that will also fit in here. Slewfoot, of course, is a really, really great pick. If you haven't read Slewfoot yet, which I slept on this book for years, literally, it was sitting on my my shelf for years and years, and I finally picked it up this past fall. Really, really enjoyed it. And the other choice that I have in here is The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. I have quite a few Laura Purcell books on this list, and along the same lines of The Silent Companions, either it just came out or it's coming out this month, we have House of Splinters, which is like a continuation of the story of The Silent Companions. So again, if you haven't picked up any Laura Purcell or The Silent Companions specifically, that will really, really fit in here. And for my movie choice, again, a little bit Gothic adjacent with this one, I went with The Love Witch, which I haven't seen, but I've seen so many clips of it that it looks fantastic, and I think I'm actually going to put that one on this month as well. 4, Letters Never Meant to Be Read, read a Gothic romance told through letters, journals, confessions, or fragmented records. So for this one for myself, I've actually already started this book, but I'm right at the very beginning. I've got The Haunting of Whitehall Manor, and it's about this woman who goes back to her ancestral home. She's been kind of estranged from her birth mother, and when she goes back to the ancestral home, obviously it's very Gothic, it's very haunted and all of that kind of stuff, and she starts to find, I believe she finds her mother's journal, and she starts to find out a lot of family history and all of that sort of thing. So that would definitely fit in here as well. If you're not talking about specifically romance, but just Gothic books that would work for this. And the other one that I'm hoping to get to this month, but I'm not really sure, it's a really, really chunky book. It's called Diaries of a Haunting. This is book 1 and 2 that I have in a bind up by M. Verano. And this says, The Haunting of Hill House meets paranormal activity in these bone-chilling accounts of hauntings that torment average teens. 2 novels in mixed media journal format in one terrifying package. So the synopsis is really, really long, so I'm not going to get into it, but it's like stories of hauntings that, you know, the entire book is a journal. So I really like that one. And along the same lines, there's one that I read a few years ago. It's called Thornhill, and it's the same thing. Like it's not a novel whatsoever. The entire book is either told through a journal or illustrations, and totally not romance, but still within the Gothic sphere. And Thornhill is actually also like a middle grade type book. Diaries of a Haunting I'm assuming is more of a YA, but both of them, if you're just talking about Gothic books and not romance specifically, would definitely fit in with this prompt. And the other one that I wanted to mention here is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, which is a retelling of The Turn of the Screw. So this one is told from the heroine's perspective when she's in jail. So actually this one could probably fit in with the morally gray heroine as well. I read The Turn of the Key years ago. I've read it twice now on audiobook, and I highly recommend reading the audiobook version just because it has all of the different accents and everything, and it's a modern retelling of The Turn of the Screw, and it takes place in this really isolated house, but it's like a smart house where there's a lot of technology and everything. So I really enjoyed that one, and like I said, it's told through the heroine, who right from the beginning of the book we know she's in jail, and she's writing to her lawyer to kind of explain what happened and explain the story. So that one will probably fit in there as well. Do I have movies for this one? No, obviously I don't have any movies for that prompt because, you know, it's told through journals, etc. Now, if you're wondering what I'm drinking, I discovered the Sour Black Cherry Ghost. I love Ghost energy, but I typically go for either the grape or the sour watermelon. But this one is actually really good. I was worried that it was going to be very medicinal, and it was going to taste like cough syrup. Like anything that's cherry flavored has a tendency to taste very much like cough syrup. But this one actually tastes like lollipops. So, you know, a little bit of candy. I've also got my pink Ghostface shirt on today, so I'm being very thematic with Valentine's Day today. And then we have prompt number 5. Love in the Fog, read a Gothic romance set in a bleak, isolated landscape, moors, cliffs, forests, or coastal ruins. So a lot of Gothic books obviously would fit in with this prompt because that is very much a theme of Gothic books, like, you know, the crumbling old manors on English moors and stuff like that, which I love. So one that I would recommend here is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I'm not a huge Riley Sager fan, but this particular book I absolutely loved. I was completely enraptured during the entire reading of it. I also read this one on audiobook, and honestly I would get to work, because like I like to listen to audiobooks on my commute. I would get to work and just sit in the parking lot until I finished a specific chapter, because I was really invested in the story, and the twist in this one really got me at the end. Another one is The Whistling by Rebecca Netley, which will show up a couple of times on this list. This one, if you read The Whistling, I would highly recommend this one also on audiobook, because it takes place on a really isolated island in Scotland, and just the narrator had a wonderful Scottish accent, and it just really added to that whole atmosphere of, you know, bleak and isolation and in the UK and the whole thing. It was just fantastic. Another one is House of 100 Whispers by Graham Masterton, which I read in the fall when I was out on my walks, and that one was really good, and takes place in the UK as well, on, like, you know, in an old crumbling manor on the moors. And this one has a lot of occult sort of elements wound into it. So if you like a little bit of occult within your Gothic reads, I would highly recommend that one. And the last one, and this is a really important book to me, I love this book and you guys have heard me talk about it constantly on the channel, is The Last Heir to Blackwood Library. So this is about a young woman who, I believe she's in London, and she's very much a city girl, and she finds out that she's inherited a manor house from like a relative that she didn't even know she had, and she's the last surviving heir, of course. But there's one stipulation, that if she accepts the house, she has to actually live in it. She can't just, you know, take the house and like live in London but still own the home. So she goes there to live. It's very much like a Rebecca kind of thing, because she doesn't know how to be a noble woman. She's really struggling with the servants there. She doesn't really belong, and she discovers this library. So it's a book about books, which is fantastic. This one also has a lot of occult elements wound in around it. It has a wonderful romantic sort of angle. Again, I've read this one physically and I've read it on audiobook, but I would recommend the audiobook just because of the fantastic accents that they have. And for someone who's not really into like romance a whole lot, I really enjoyed the romantic element in that book specifically. And the 2 movie suggestions I would have for this one is the 1997 adaptation of Jane Eyre with Ciarán Hinds, and only because of that foggy, misty sort of atmosphere, it continues pretty much through the entire movie. And along the same lines as the 1993 adaptation of The Secret Garden, not a romance whatsoever. It does have some romantic elements when it's talking about the adults in the story, but again, just the place that they shot this movie and all of the fog and that sort of thing is fantastic. Actually, I'll also put The Others in here as well, because the oppressiveness of The Others, the movie, is outstanding. So I'll put that one in here as well. Prompt number 6, A House with Temperament. Read a book in which a home, estate, or a location feels alive or oppressive. So for this one, I actually went with 2 Darcy Coates books, and I am going to do a Darcy Coates themed video coming up here probably in another little while. So I guess technically it's 3 books. So the first one is actually a duology. So it's House of Shadows and House of Secrets, which is her Gothic duology. And she writes the Gothic so well, Darcy Coates. I was blown away by these books that she wrote. She is a fantastic writer, and she really got me to sink into this story. So that one, and then the other one by her, not a romance whatsoever. It's mainly with this woman that's on her own, is The Haunting of Ashburn House. So House of Shadows, House of Secrets is about this young woman who actually gets betrothed to like a nobleman who's a lot older than she is, and the reason she gets married is because she has to save her father's company and all of this kind of stuff, and she's very, very young, and she again doesn't know how to fit into his society, and she has a lot of trouble in the house and that kind of thing, but very, very good. And he's really sort of that brooding Mr. Rochester sort of figure. So would highly recommend House of Shadows, House of Secrets, the duology by Darcy Coates. And then the other one is The Haunting of Ashburn House, which is my favorite book of all time by her. She is fantastic. So out of all of those Darcy Coates, like, so you have Ashburn House, you have Falcroft Ghosts, you have Gillespie House, you have Rookwood House, you have, like, she has all of these haunted house books. This one is my absolute favorite by her in that sort of kind of niche that she's really in, that sort of comfort haunting stories. So Haunting of Ashburn, I'm going to recommend for this one because the house really does feel like it's a character within the story. As far as movies go, I'm going to put The Others in on this one as well. Sorry, The Others is going to come up in a lot of the categories for these prompts. So The Others, Burnt Offerings. If you've never seen Burnt Offerings, it's so good, and the house is really very much a character within the story, and I love that angle of having like the house itself feels like a character, and it feels like it's got its own personality, and it's extremely haunted, and it's like everything. It's just oozing with all of these sort of wonderful Gothic feels. And the third one I have is The Changeling. I watched The Changeling for the first time a few years ago, and it's just fantastic. Prompt number 7, The Outsider. Read a book featuring a character who never truly belongs. So like I said, the House of Shadows, House of Secrets books, she does eventually, you know, start to come into her role, but when she first comes into it, she's very much a character that doesn't belong. If you want to stick with a classic for this one, Rebecca obviously is the first choice. If you've never seen the movie adaptation of Rebecca though, you could definitely do a book movie sort of review if you like, or comparison. And the third one I went with this one is The Poison Thread by Laura Purcell, which will also come up in the next prompt as well. But The Poison Thread, so the young girl that she basically becomes a seamstress amongst this group of young seamstresses, and she's very much an outsider. She's not really like the other girls, and I don't want to get too much into it, but basically like all of her feelings and her hatred kind of come through in her stitches. And so that one's really, really good. And then for the movie adaptations for this one, the character who never truly belongs, of course, like I said, Rebecca. Now Laurence Olivier plays the main male character in this story, and he knocks it out of the park, same way he did with Wuthering Heights. The Secret Garden, the 1993 adaptation of The Secret Garden, would definitely fit into this one as well. So I wanted to give choices that would fit into a lot of these prompts. So you either read one thing or you watch one thing, and then you can cover several prompts. So you know, the 1993 adaptation of The Secret Garden, it has Dame Maggie Smith in it as well as one of the characters. She's the main housekeeper. You know, Mary Lennox really doesn't fit in to this world, and it's a very sad, very oppressive kind of world, and she really, this is very much like a character growth sort of story. So that one is my absolute favorite, and it would definitely fit in here. And then prompt number 8, read a book that makes you feel emotionally wrecked by the end. So, I mean, with the Gothic, you definitely have these stories that there's revelations that come through that are super, super sad. So The Poison Thread is one that just absolutely sawed me in half. And along the same lines, also by Laura Purcell, is The Shape of Darkness, which I think is my favorite book that I've read by her. The Poison Thread was good, but The Shape of Darkness is just outstanding. So a lot of these, like I said, are not specifically romance books. Like those two by Laura Purcell are extremely Gothic, and she is a very well-known writer, but they're not within that sort of romance sort of sphere. But something that does have romantic elements in it is The Witch of Willow Hall, which is also by Hester Fox, who wrote The Last Heir to Blackwood Library. I enjoyed most of Hester Fox's books, and that one is really, really good, and it is so, so sad. Another Darcy Coates is Gallows Hill, which by the time like all of the information on the story is sort of being put together at the end, has a really sad angle. Gallows Hill, I think, besides The Haunting of Ashburn House and The House of Shadows, House of Secrets, is definitely way up on my Darcy Coates list. So if you're looking for somewhere to start with her, I would definitely recommend Gallows Hill. And then the last book that I have on here, one that I already mentioned, is The Whistling. So that one has a really sad sort of angle to it as well. And again, highly recommend reading that one on audiobook so you hear the wonderful accents. And Thornhill also, which I talked about. It's that book that's told completely through like a diary and illustrations. It's a middle grade book. Very, very sad. I cried at that book as well. For movie adaptations, 2 that I already mentioned on this list, The Others, which is an extremely sad story, and The Changeling, which is also extremely sad, but also very, very creepy. Both of them are very sad, but very creepy, and both of them would also fit into that, you know, house that feels alive or oppressive, you know, where the house is actually a character within the story. So if you're looking to sit down on a Sunday afternoon for Slow Burn Sunday and have a box of Kleenex, definitely those 2 would fit into that bill as well. So there you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and my recommendations for a few things that would fit into the Gothic Hearts reading challenge. I'm really enjoying reading the books that I am so far this month. My reading is going to probably pick up here in a little while. If I don't feel well, I don't read a whole lot. I watch more like TV and movies. So I'm excited for my reading to pick up a little bit here now that I'm a little bit more energetic. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, I didn't get into like a TBR or pile of possibilities for February because I very much want to stick with mood reading for the next little while for several reasons, which I don't want to say right now, but I want to stick with mood reading. And so we'll definitely do a wrap up towards the end of February or beginning of March for everything that I did end up reading. So like I said, want to stick with mood reading, no TBR, no pile of possibilities, but I still did want to give a few recommendations, especially for people who are looking to get into a little bit of Gothic. So not specifically romance, like I said, this is more along the sides of Gothic books with some of them having romantic elements in them. They're not specifically romance books. So I hope you guys came up with a few things to put on your own TBRs for the month of February, and I hope you've been enjoying the Gothic Hearts reading challenge so far. Like I said, I'll have all of my co-hosts linked down in the description box. Make sure you go over and watch their videos as well. But other than that, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and leave me a question or comment down below because you know I love chatting with you guys. But until next time, stay spooky, everybody. Bye.